independent as long as possible. And if you aren't independent, to have you at the least restrictive environment. And one of the ways that we can do this is through this program. By the way, you need to understand, Rolling Green doesn't get any money from this. That's not why we're doing it. We're doing it because we believe it's the right thing for you. It's also really not available in most other places in this way. And so it's very, very powerful. And I'm excited about it. You know how I am when I'm excited. You know, this is it. But this is cutting edge stuff, and it will. And again, it's working with your primary care provider of your choice. The information only goes to who you choose it to go to. Let me tell you a secret. The clinic doesn't have all the information on you. Why is that? Because every time you go to the doctor, you may not tell them that this med or that med was changed. This type of program can help keep the information in front of you, and in an emergency, we have a lot more usable data that we can send with you to the hospital. If you think about that from an emergency standpoint, that's a big deal. So we're excited. Just, you know, we are taking names. You're not signing up. This isn't like a magazine thing, you know, where you get 50 magazines or something like that if you sign up. But we do want a list of people to contact, and again, there are some criteria that you'll need to meet. But the big thing is to call the phone number, and they can help you with that. Okay. Just for the fun of it, you know that I love straw polls. How many of you are kind of interested in this? Go ahead. Okay. All right. We got quite a few people. Yeah. You know, we're looking. This is a pilot study, and we're looking for a few people who can help us out, and let's see if it works. And I think we're going to be amazed based on the data that I've seen and learned about. It's amazing what can happen through this. So that's my advertising for the moment. And thank you for coming from all points, east and west. Have I forgotten anything yet?
We have some whispers around there. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Probably not, right?
Yeah, there's probably some questions.
There are just some whispers about how much does it cost.
Oh yeah,
right?
That.
Oh yeah, that, right?
Oh yeah, that.
So for the pilot, if you're on Medicare, then your Medicare will cover that service, and it's $30 a month as a copay. If you're not on Medicare, you have another insurer, then it's a total of $199 a month, $199, not $1.99. Wouldn't that be great? So $199 a month, or Medicare plus 30. Okay. If there are any other questions, we'll be around.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does the copay pick up on the 30?
Does the copay pick up on the?
Does your auxiliary insurance pick up on the 30?
Does the auxiliary insurance pick up on the $30?
It does not. No.
It does not. Okay, great questions. Good deal. Well, we've got some other exciting things to talk about. The first thing is, have you ever heard of an algae bloom? Yeah, that's when apparently something like the upper pond gets a bunch of algae in it, and it just blooms. And this is great weather for it. And this year we've had an unusual bloom, and I don't think it looks very pretty. But one thing the bloom does is it clogs up the inlet and the outlet on the aerator, sprinkler, whatever you want to, sparkler, whatever you want to call it. I'm retiring a little bit. I can use whatever word I want. All right, there we go. But so we have turned it off, and it's going to be a couple of weeks. They are treating it. They've already been here to treat the bloom. They're treating the blooming thing. All right. So that's all good. So the fountain is turned off for the moment, and it's not what we want, but we didn't want the algae either, so it's better for that. Other things, just a quick thing, for overnight trips off campus. You know, if you have slumber parties or whatever, we're not part of that. But for overnight trips, we're actually looking at getting some people who work professionally in creating and monitoring and managing and carrying forward and implementing overnight trips. And so we're looking at that. It will save a lot of staff time, for one, but for other, we think that there's an opportunity for some improvements as well. And our staff has done a terrific job, so that's not what I'm saying. I think, a lot of times if you've got a company that does this a lot, they get discounts and stuff that we might not be able to get. So I think there's some opportunities there. So we're looking at working on having somebody from outside help plan overnight trips. Okay? All right? Okay. We'll go to the special announcement here. Drum roll. You know that I love history, and I've seen so much of it, But one of the things about the Rolling Green history is a lot of people don't know this, but there was actually a group of people who got together in 1975 and began praying before they had land, before they had money, for this. And they worked very hard for 10 years. And as you know, we opened in 1986. And so really this place was bathed in prayer. And that's really how we started. And since then we have been continually bathed in prayer. And we really are a place of rest and meditation as well, among many other things. And something a number of residents have said along the way is, we believe in prayer, we're faith-based. Where's the chapel? And so here we are, right? Yeah, here we are. Well, really there's been a desire for a long time for an intimate place to worship. Some people have suggested that we build a church on campus, but that's really not practical because you don't use that building all the time. But amazingly, a number of our residents here have been praying about having a chapel for years. Isn't that cool? I just think that's so cool. Recently, God raised some donors. I knew I wouldn't get verklempt. God raised some donors who have committed the funds so that we can really get started and get it into the ground. We're going to need some help, but I am so excited and so pleased. The generosity is for a chapel and hopefully even potentially a prayer garden, depending on gifts and those kinds of things. But since those donations and donors have stepped forward, several months ago, we formed this small committee, and we did a couple things. And that little team consisted, first of all, of David Newton, Jane Stein, Skip, Ryan, the donors, and myself. We found a local architect who understands our culture. And that's really, really important to us. It's not just Joe Blow, but we found a local architect who has worked in this space before. That architect helped us space and size the chapel. So we talked at length about what residents have been saying to us over the years and the kinds of needs that we have and the things that we need. We may not need another big room like this, but we do need that sacred space, right? And so we've been carefully listening, and isn't it just how God works? Lately we've been hearing all kinds of ideas and suggestions, and people have been approaching us. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a chapel? I just think that's so cool how God is raising us. And so the generosity is sufficient for us to move forward. And I'd like to invite David up to give a few comments about it and how it works and that kind of stuff. But David's passion and understanding of our community here is just so vital to this whole project. David?
To echo something that Bob just said a moment ago, this is me looking excited. I come by it honestly. I come from parents who are very low-key. We knew that they were thrilled to death if you heard the words, "Well, how about that?" come out of their mouths. Mom and Dad, Martha and I getting married. Well, how about that? You're going to have a grandchild. Well, how about that? So I'll try to do a little bit better than that. Well, how about this? Well, I'm really excited about this. Some years ago, I had the opportunity to serve on an executive committee for a denomination here in South Carolina and served on their Benevolent Institutions Committee. And among those were several ministries similar to this, retirement communities. And I remember being so impressed with those, especially as they emphasized the spiritual dimension that's so important to us as we get into our older years. But I'm just so grateful that the Lord opened the door to enable me to be a part of this community here, this faith-based community. So what does a faith-based community look like? A little while back, probably about 2 years ago, I had a resident to stop by the office and commented that she had come here because this was a faith-based community. But in having walked all over this campus, the comment was made that you couldn't see any evidence of that faith identity on the campus. Depending on what perspective you have, that was both true and false. It was wrong because people do see and people do feel the evidence of faith life on this campus. I've heard from a lot of new residents who've shared they came here because when they visited here, they encountered other residents who were living here and felt the warmth, the love, and the care and the concern from them, and that impressed them so that they knew this would be a good place to have wonderful friends and neighbors. We see that because others have commented just about a general feeling they have when they come on this campus. You know, there's something special about this place that they have not encountered in other areas, in other places. So that this is a faith-based community is evident in the lives of you. It's evident in the lives of you who make up the community of Rolling Green Village. I see your faith in action all the time. And this is something for which we should always be grateful. And I would never want us to lose sight of the truth that our personal expressions of faith are paramount. That's what's most important. But the other way of looking at that comment of there's no evidence of us being a faith-based community is true. If we look at the tangible infrastructure of Rolling Green Village, there's nothing really that reveals our faith identity. If someone were to walk this place at a time when all the residents were behind closed doors and never had a chance to encounter you, just from what they would see from the things and the places and the decor and all of that would not suggest that this is a place that's faith-based. It would give no clue that this is a place where residents come to live and worship and learn and grow. And so consequently, as Bob has mentioned already, that folks have been talking about a chapel for a long, long time, at least as long as I've been here. I know that a lot of people have been praying for this, and I'm one of those. How many of y'all have ever been tempted to say, as we've talked about various improvements to the campus, well, I don't know if I'll be here by the time that comes along. Well, I have to confess, I've been tempted to say that about the chapel. So, but it seems like this dream that we've had for a long time that seems so elusive is beginning to come into place. So the Lord continues to try to teach me the art of patience, and I'm sure I'm not the only one in this room still needing to learn more about waiting on the Lord. Well, the good news of the day is the Lord has been speaking into the hearts of some of our residents already with a challenge to make this dream a reality, and my prayer would be that even more would have the Spirit move in their hearts and lives to become a part of this project. The response to the Lord's leading is sufficient to put the wheels in motion. Now, as I've heard residents stating a desire for a chapel across the years, I usually ask them, well, what do you picture when you mention a chapel? And like Bob mentioned, for many of them, they think in terms of a large sanctuary, a large place for worship. And Bob and I agree on this. I have a strong propensity to honor the principle of stewardship and to invest a lot of money in a large space that is only used very seldom. I just have a little difficulty with that. Multi-purpose spaces are the way to go for these large gatherings, in my opinion. But most of them have said prayer chapel or something along those lines. For the time being, in this room, we have a comfortable setting for larger gatherings, and I do think it's important for us to be good stewards. But we don't have a place that's conducive to prayer and contemplation and meditation. We don't have a place where people who are hurting can just pull aside and know that they will not be right in the thick of things. They can be in a quiet place and just get alone with the Lord, or just a few people gather together to pray. And so as we've talked about size of this, at one point in this process, we were looking at maybe taking an existing space and doing a renovation of it, but we realized that would really fall short space-wise of some of the possibilities of what a chapel could be. And so we shifted attention, instead of trying to make do with some existing space that's just renovated, that we would build from scratch. And so what we're looking at is a worship area, a chapel that would seat about 32 people. That would make it very functional for a number of things. It would function as a place of prayer and meditation. It's small enough that it could still be intimate for that purpose of just pulling aside and going in and having some time just to sit down and pray. I mean, you can do that in here if you want to in the middle of the week. It's kind of a big rambling place to sit. You don't feel that sense of intimacy in this room. But the room that we're talking about would be like that. It's small enough that it would have that intimacy that is so much needed. But it also would function as a place for smaller groups, for different types of worship events and so forth. And let me give you a couple of examples of ways that this space could be used. First of all, there are several groups that meet every week or every month for worship, and they generally are meeting in this room. This room far outstrips the need for that. For example, we have Catholic communion services, we have the Episcopal Eucharist service and so forth, and there are other occasional worship services for which that 32-seat worship chapel, prayer chapel, would be perfect for those, would be absolutely perfect for it. Another possible use, I don't see this happening very frequently though, another possible use is that it could be used for small memorial services. You know, there's one thing with memorial services, generally you can't predict how many people are going to show, and so you want to be sure that they're in an adequate place. But every once in a while, we do have a situation where someone who's come to this community late in life, not that far from death already, they pass away, their family doesn't have a lot of connections in the community, and it's just them. So they're looking at 15, 20 people or so. And this would be a place that those types of services could be held as well. Another thing that I think about, and this is one of the reasons I think the location, which will be revealed in a moment, the location is perfect for this. Not only would this serve a lot of the needs of our independent residents, but one thing that I have observed and have felt so badly about for a long time is that in our licensed areas, there are times when family members receive, what shall we say, receive heavy news, very heavy news, and it's difficult for them to process that. Their choices are either to gather in those small rooms around the bedside of a loved one who is passing or has recently passed and try to do everything there, just crowded there, or to go out in the hallway where everybody's coming and going as well. But this will be close enough to that area that our staff can easily shepherd them, guide them to this place so that they can have a place where they can pray together, talk together, weep together, whatever's needed. So that's one thing that I think is very important about the location. But again, it is to be a prayer chapel. So anybody, anytime, for any reason, can go in there to pray, to find a quiet place, to find some solitude. And I think that's probably about all I need to say, other than when it does happen, if you need to arrange the use, see the chaplain.
Thank you, David. Somebody told me a long time ago, never follow a pastor who's been speaking for a number of years.
I didn't follow that long.
Oh, David, thank you. You are such a blessing to this community. I'm so grateful. You know, in the past couple of years, have you noticed that pricing and some of that kind of stuff is a little unpredictable? Yeah? Sometimes up. other times higher. Some prices are coming down. We've got kind of a general idea of the costing. We know it's well under $1 million. Please don't panic, it's well under that. We don't know the exact amount, but we will know before we go too much longer, because we'll get pricing and bids and those kinds of things. And of course, we do competitive bidding and those kinds of things. So we'll know more as we go to it. But we know that there's sufficient dollars to really get us going. And again, your assistance is welcome. We're going to be providing regular updates of the project. The first update is actually today. We just learned today, Skip and the architect went down to visit with the county, and the county said, we're going to get to you as soon as we can. Should only be 5 or 6 months. Seriously. So, what we were hoping to move a lot faster is going to move slower than what we had expected. And it's not because anybody's dragging their feet. As you know, have you noticed that Greenville's growing? And and the county offices haven't grown apparently. And so it's going to take us a while to get the approvals. And that's really the next big step. We're going to need to have engineer drawings. We have architectural, but an engineer needs to be involved. Apparently they think there's a train that's going to go through it. But we need to get the engineer drawings and then get in front of the county. So that's going to take us a while. And then after that, we do the bidding and the pricing and all that kind of stuff. And then construction starts. We were hoping that this would start in early 2024, if not sooner. But I think with the delays with the county, I think it's going to be more mid-2024 before we can break ground. Hopefully sooner. So the way to fix that is, I know we got a bunch of prayers in here, and pray it through the county. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, pray through the county. I mentioned, and we've talked about the generosity of donors is sufficient to get us going. To really bring it across the finish line in a way that is just rolling green. We need some help, and there will eventually be a list of things. But right now, if you would feel so moved to commit or to donate towards the project, it will be general just put general chapel or prayer chapel or something like that on it, and all those funds will be used for the chapel project. So that's important. And if there's an overage, sometimes God grants just amazing things. That's when we'll start looking at the prayer garden. Should there be sufficient funds? And wouldn't that be sweet? If you'd like to participate on your way out, you have this sheet, but you don't have the other one. On the way out, there's a form that says chapel on it, and you have an opportunity to put something down if you feel so moved, and you can get those either the front, either of the reception desks, or to Jane. We also have envelopes, so that way whatever you put is between you and God, and so just so you know that. Let's move these things and move that bus. And now let's do some of that. Yeah. Say, Ryan, why don't you come on forward? They're the right ones.
You don't trust us? Start on your side.
Okay, David and Ryan. I'd like to show you what the outside looks like. David and Ryan. And we can put this on the screen. It's a definite chapel. It's designed to be distinctive, so people will know it's part of our faith-based heritage and who we are. That we are an organization based on Christian principles, but it's also, it fits within the community. We
Talk
can,
about the location.
I think, yeah, we'll have a location one in just a moment. Well, actually, if you,
Can you tell where it is?
remember the front entry for the village center? That big white canopy out in front? That's right there. It's over here. Then this is the village center. So Amy's office is in here, Ryan's office currently is in here. It is, the doorway to it is a little bit down this hall, right across the way. So it's convenient to everybody. Why don't we do the next one? I think this one is at night. Yeah, so you can kind of get an idea. We're hoping for some help with stained glass windows and all kinds of things, but it is very beautiful. And then let's do the third. Okay, on the inside, yeah, we can move to that slide as well. There we go. While it's small and intimate, it is sacred. You know, there's some design work that remains, and I'm sure there will be some minor modifications along the way, but this is the dream. And we have good architect working on creating this with and for us. So that's exciting. And do you have the next slide, please? Okay. We didn't get a fancy panel for this, sorry, but you can see at the top is the room that you're sitting in right now. Okay, and in that mid space is the corridor right outside here, all right? And so it's just down the hallway. The building in the corner that's white. That is the village center. And so you can see the blue is where the chapel is. And then the green would be potentially where the prayer garden is. And it's kind of tucked in, away and quiet, and just a sweet spot. So again, we're hoping for that, but we're going for the chapel first, so. You know, as I've mentioned, the next steps really are the county permitting. And that's, again, appreciate your prayers and your thoughts on that. We'll have the groundbreaking as soon as we can. And really, it needs to get through the county and have all the bids and all that kind of stuff in hand. So that's going to be some months away. Behind the scenes, someone a long time ago told me, over half the work is done before the first shovel hits the ground. And it's true. There's a lot of work that's already gone into this, and the team has done very, very good work, and I'm really proud of them. There's going to be a lot more information to follow. And as we get information, we will be sharing it with you on a periodic basis, either in this meeting or in letters, or, we use pigeons, every now and again. Not really. They're a little unreliable. But any questions or comments? I'm hoping that y'all in the wings can see this okay. Are you able to see it? Okay, good. Good.
Bob, can you share with us how much we've got donated so far?
The donors have asked to remain anonymous, and which we are honoring in terms of the amount as well.
Okay.
But it's sufficient to get us started in the ground. But we need help. Jake, yes.
This is wonderful, and I'm happy to see it happening. Years back, I heard a story about they were building this church, and the response came back, "Are they angels?" Because there were no restrooms provided. The restrooms are close provided.
Yes. Funny you should mention that. That's one of the questions we had with the county today, is just, again, making sure, there is a restroom right down the way and over there, and then of course there's well, I won't say that. But there are restrooms around the corner as well, so there are restrooms. And we believe that we have sufficient restrooms close enough to meet the code. And that's what we know right now. Good. Other comments or questions? What do you think? You know, Rolling Green started by a donation. 175 or 120 acres and then added more later on. And I think this is really a fitting testament and testimony to Rolling Green, that it continues in this way through prayer and gift. Let's see. Somebody told me that you know you're getting older when you sink your teeth into a steak and they stay there. When your children are beginning to look a little older. I've got middle-aged kids. Who knew? You know, when did that happen? Tell a man there are 300 billion stars in the universe and he'll believe you. Tell him a door has wet paint on it and he'll have to touch it to be sure. You know, this is an appropriate thing. A man in a hot air balloon realized he was lost. He reduced altitude and spotted a woman below. He descended a little bit more and shouted, "Excuse me, can you help me? I promised a friend I'd meet him an hour ago, but I don't know where I am." The woman replied, "Well, you're in a hot air balloon. You're hovering about 30 feet above the ground. You're between 40 and 41 degrees north latitude and 59 and 60 degrees west longitude." The balloonist smiled and said, "You must be an engineer." "I am," replied the woman. "How did you know?" "Well, everything you told me is technically correct, but I have no idea what to make of your information. And the fact is, I'm still lost. Frankly, you've not been much help at all. If anything, you've delayed my trip." So the woman thought for a moment, and she responded, "Well, you must be in management." And he said, "So how did you know?" "Well, you don't know where you are or where you're going. You've risen to where you are due to a large quantity of hot air. You made a promise which you have no idea how to keep, and you expect people beneath you to solve your problems. The fact is, you're exactly the same position you were before we met, but somehow now, it's my fault." You know, you all have been gracious to me so much. Are there any questions or anything I can address today?
You're leaving quite a legacy with this.
You know, the comment is I'm leaving quite a legacy. It's such a gift to this campus, and it's so appropriate. You know, the way it's coming together. Now you know what I look at when I'm passionate, you know, and only somewhat embarrassed. But I'm just so grateful on so many levels for this and for so many things of Rolling Green Village, and especially for you. So thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I just hope Brian's shoes are as big as yours.
I hope Brian's shoes are as big as mine. Well, the way I've broken mine down, I don't know that he wants them. Well, why don't we close in prayer? Father, we're gathered here, and I believe it's by your hand. And I see your hand in so many things and so many people here at Rolling Green Village. And it's a community of faith and of grace. And I'm so grateful. I'm grateful to be here, to have been here, and to have the opportunity to work with this group of people, with this incredible staff. Thick and thin, I'm grateful. Lord, I'm grateful for the donors, but also the donors and the donations to come, but also the people to follow us, that they might be remember and honor you through all of this. So many things to be thankful for, and we just pray for continued health and safety and grace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Don't forget to call a number, and there are some forms out in front. Thank you so much.
Okay, Jerry?
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jerry, for filming.